So I just saw Jackass Forever, and it was fun. Now, there were only about 10 people in the theater when I watched it for some reason, but even so, there were still good crowd laughs throughout the film. This is a film where it's pretty damn near impossible not to react to it in some way, whether you're laughing, or cringing, or crying, or maybe vomiting. Like, sure, at its core, it's just a bunch of stunts and pranks and potty humor, but they do it really well. Whether we're talking about conceptualizing the stunts or performing them, this is pretty top tier. It goes without saying that the main crew's old age definitely adds a layer of comedy and emotion, and what's interesting is they actually brought in a bunch of new, younger people to do some of the stunts. Honestly, if that's a solution to getting a 5th Jackass movie, then I'll take it. The main cast certainly adds a lot, and they're essentially irreplaceable, but they don't need to be actually hurting themselves to appear in the movie. Even if Johnny Knoxville's just there to press the button that launches something into someone else's groin, I'm happy. Some of the new crew members were more memorable than others, but no one really brought down the film, so I'd call that a win. Now, I haven't seen the first Jackass films in a while, but if I were to rank them from memory, it would probably be 2, 4, 3, 1. In the first film, they were still ironing out the feature-length format, but as soon as they hit number 2, they were truly giving it their all. The opening title sequence of number 2 was essentially director Jeff Tremaine's way of saying, hey look, I am a real director. And you cannot get much better than the terrorist taxi stunt prank at the end of Jackass number 2. That is the strongest segment, and it is filled with a variety of emotions, and it is the best way to end a Jackass film. Which leads me into one of my criticisms with Jackass Forever, is that the ending wasn't very strong. The last prank had some explosions, but otherwise it feels like it could have just appeared anywhere in the middle of the movie. I honestly would rather have had the film end with another staged stunt like the opening, and that entire opening sequence was pretty hilarious. It's also kind of weird, but I guess unsurprising, that the end credits of this film were super manipulative and nostalgia baity. They played a bunch of stunts from this film side by side with stunts from, I guess, the first film or the early Jackass TV show days, and it was all like, hey, look how much they've grown, isn't this sentimental? They're old now. Oh, wow, don't you remember things? You remember having a being not old as you are now? It's really lame, and that didn't need to be there. It was also kind of awkward because the entire tone was just so conclusive, like it was wrapping everything up, but at the same time they avoided showing any clips of Bam Margera. And let's be honest, we all know that they'd be back for another one as long as there's money involved. After all, the aging crew doesn't have to put themselves in harm's way as long as there's new cast members. Another criticism I have is that one of the music choices was super lame. It was somewhere near the beginning of the film, and I think it was during the night vision scene. Essentially, it just sounded like some shitty garage band that probably only made it into the film because of nepotism. Like one of the producer's sons is just doing some bullshit and they just put it in the movie to be nice. It did not fit the tone of the scene, it did not add anything to it. It was honestly grating and distracting to listen to. It didn't completely ruin the scene, and I was still able to find humor in it, but I was able to do that in spite of the song being there, not because of it. Anyway, who gives a shit about the production elements? I just want to see football in the groin. This is a dumb, crude, fun, outrageous movie that maybe isn't the best filmed thing ever, and maybe isn't the best out of the series, but it was solid, and it's a fun thing to watch, so go see it. And I'm giving this one a 7 out of 10, I guess. It's closer to a 6 than an 8. Another film I saw was Shut In, the new Daily Wire produced film.
Let me tell you why this film is so important, why it's worth your time to be part of this historic premiere. I mean, the biggest reason is because Hollywood hates your guts, and we don't.
That's right. Hollywood does not like you, and I like you, so give me your money, and don't watch films based on the quality of the films. Just watch them purely for ideological reasons. Yes. Now, this is the second film from the Daily Wire, and the first one was called Run, Hide, Fight. We actually talked about that on my podcast, Sardonicast, so if you want to hear my extended thoughts on that film, then go watch that episode of the podcast. This newest one, Shut In, is also bad, and it's directed by DJ Caruso, the acclaimed director of Eagle Eye. Shockingly enough, this is actually a much better looking film than Eagle Eye. It's got better lighting and cinematography, the performances are also a little better, but what really drags this film down is just how lame and boring it is. It's so bizarre to me that they are selling these films with so much emphasis on politics, but the movies themselves never feel like anything that you couldn't get anywhere else. They're just lame and predictable thrillers with a little bit of Jesus thrown in, so just something that has already existed for a long time. Hollywood or not, there are plenty of low-tier American thriller movies with religious undertones. I genuinely wish that the political and religious aspects of these films were a bit more explicit. At least then they wouldn't be so boring. Essentially, the conflict of this film is that the main woman gets trapped in her pantry. How does this happen? Well, it turns out that there's a pantry in her home that locks from the outside, and it locks automatically as soon as the doors close. closed, and even though she's known about this for quite a while, she didn't really take the proper precautions. So she's stuck in her pantry while her toddler and baby are outside the pantry, and she's like, let me out. And they're like, I'm too stupid, I'm a baby. And then some bad guys come and they're like, we're going to hurt your children. She's like, get me out of here, I didn't do anything, just get me out, help me. The sound design in this movie is pretty hilarious. Like, the amount she can hear is way too much and way too unrealistic. There's certain pieces of action where they did an unnecessary amount of Foley work, and it works against the film. One of the bad guys is Vincent Gallo, a crazy man who is selling his own escort services on his official website. Not really something you'd want to promote to the traditional family values conservative Christian crowd, so I can see why Ben Shapiro didn't mention that.
Including the reemergence of Vincent Gallo, who was kind of a storied actor back in the day before he was barred by Hollywood for basically being a Trump supporter.
Don't worry, guys. Everything on my personal website is super ironic, and these t-shirts I sell don't say anything about my political beliefs. Yeah, this is pretty cringe, Vincent. This is pretty fucking lame here. It's pretty obvious that he's trying to get a reaction out of people, but I still think that he's kind of a nut job. Guys, I was only ironically appearing in this Daily Wire film, okay? Anyway, there was nothing wrong with his performance. He was pretty good, but he was barely in the movie, so whatever. He's not an untalented actor, and he actually wrote and directed a pretty great film called Buffalo 66, so check that one out because it's pretty great. We also talked about that film on my podcast, Sardonicast. See, Benny, just because you enjoy a piece of art from someone doesn't mean that you necessarily tolerate their political beliefs. What is that called when you separate art from the, Bible? Yeah, that's it. Anyway, this is a movie that is bad regardless of who produced it, who starred in it, etc. Spoilers, she uses Jesus to save the day, and she finds a lot of money in the Bible. We did it! Want to stop being poor? Well, fucking get a Bible, dummy! This was a very boring and unspecial film that literally no one would have seen if it wasn't being hyped up by Benny Shapiro. I watched it for the memes, and it was not worth it, so, yep. And I'm giving this one a 3 out of 10. Thank you.
Bedtime.
Take your time. She's wearing a diaper, by the way.
The flattest bed in the solar system.
I can't just jump on top of Tillis like that. I'm not an animal. I could lie down on my own side of the bed like a good boy.